Washington, D.C. getting hammered by a storm that's already headed our way. We are tracking that storm and also looking at how Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are creating a political storm for the GOP. Then, just 10 days till the Iowa caucuses, and Bernie Sanders is putting one scare into Hillary Clinton. We're going to ask our panel tonight how worried she should be. Also, Wall Street is having one of its worst starts to the year ever. Stocks diving, oil prices tanking, people concerned. Financial expert will join the panel to tell us what we ought to be looking out for. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you so much for joining us this Friday night. As I said, a monster storm slamming a huge chunk of the East Coast as we speak, and it's working its way up to our region. The nation's capital is bracing for 2, if not more, feet of snow, and the Washington Capitals, as Andrew wants to make sure everyone knows, have canceled their game scheduled for this evening. The D.C. Metro shutting down as well. A little bit later, meteorologist Jamie Booth, she'll be joining us to track the storm here. But first, we will take a look past the white stuff and take a look at the race to the White House. And a legitimate question for one Chris Christie. Before even the first snowflake has fallen, the question to the governor of New Jersey is, has he already botched this snowstorm? Now, Christie, of course, he's been living in New Hampshire on his presidential run, and all week he's been getting questions about whether or not he'd be returning to New Jersey to manage the storm here, especially one that could have serious impacts on the southern to central part of the state, let alone the coastal communities. Here's what he was saying as late as just yesterday.
If I feel like it's necessary for me to get down there, I will. But I'm not driving a plow truck, okay? So we have all of our people ready to go. They know what to do.
But that was yesterday. Today, after feeling some political blowback to that response, the governor seemed a little testy when asked if he regretted that decision.
I may go back.
Yeah, I got you.
Are you reconsidering the decision not to go back?
Let me be clear. I never made any decision not to go back. Remember what I said yesterday. I said that I'm monitoring this on a regular basis, and I'll make the decision that is the appropriate decision to make when I have to make it.
Finally, this afternoon, Christie seemed to realize he had to focus on his day job, but notice the attitude.
They'll feel better if I'm there. So I'm going to go back this afternoon. You're going to be the last event that I do today. I'm going to go back this afternoon, and then I will try to come back on Sunday.
They'll feel better if he's there. Now, Christie making it sound like New Jersey residents were just clamoring for his return, but he later threw them under the bus, telling reporters, I guarantee you that if I didn't go back, they'd criticize me. When I do go back, they'll criticize me for whatever I did when I'm there, and then when I leave to come back here, they'll criticize me for leaving. All right. We're going to get into this story first, so let's bring in our political snow angel, Shelley Mayer. She is a Democratic Assemblywoman representing Yonkers. Dominic Carter, next to her, political journalist and author. Scott Vanderhoff, who dealt with a few snow emergencies in his time as a former 5-term Republican Rockland County executive. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Listen, I think the governor got this thing all wrong from the beginning. If you look at where he made his bona fides and got national attention, it was in part in the aftermath of Sandy. He looked like somebody who put politics to the side, worked with a president from another party, did whatever he had to do, was omnipresent up and down the coastline and throughout the state of New Jersey. And it was kind of like Rudy in the aftermath of 9/11 in a different way, albeit. These are things where you get to put on the poncho, show up wherever you are, and you don't seem like, you know, a run-of-the-mill politician. You're somebody doing good. Why he needed to be cajoled, pressured, and harangued into going back, for the life of me, I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, welcome to being governor. I mean, honestly, that's what you do. I mean, if you look at it just simply from the experience, there will be deaths, lives lost as a result of the storm for one reason or another, okay? And that's when the executive needs to be around to try to prevent as many as possible, to prevent accidents and what have you. And yes, I mean, that's when executives shine, I mean, in a sense, because they're not just to hold hands, they're to make decisions, critical decisions, on how to respond to emergencies. So I cannot figure out what he's thinking.
And Andrew, as we showed, I don't drive the plow. That's what you think a governor does when you have a state of emergency? Again, we're expecting flooding along the Jersey coastline to be the worst that we've seen since Sandy. So there's no exaggerations. I mean, we've been monitoring this from the beginning here. There will be major, forget about beach erosion. You're going to have, on the overnight, a full moon here as the storms are coming in here, and you're going to have on top of that high tides and everything. It's like not a perfect storm. I don't want to overinflate this, but there's going to be material damage in New Jersey. Again, I know that he's trying to make his big stand here in New Hampshire, but even politically, forget about ethically, morally. Why? What are you doing?
I mean, this feels like such a one-sided argument that I've been trying all day to put myself in Christie's shoes and figure out what he was thinking leading up to this. And the best I can come up with is people in New Jersey don't expect him to be there anyway because he hasn't been there all year and he wasn't there most of last year.
And let's give a number, Andrew, right? In the last 365 days, I think it's about 200 days he hasn't been in state.
Something like that. And I think he's only been in state like 2 days in 2016 so far. And then one of those was to give his State of the State address. Yeah. I think he is missing an opportunity, but I think the calculation was, I'm not going to get a lot of play in Iowa and New Hampshire with me in my fleece directing the snowplows and being Mr. Man on the scene. So I may as well stay in New Hampshire and try to keep my presidential aspirations up. But I think it was a worst case scenario. He started realizing, boy, if this thing does get bad in New Jersey, I'm going to look terrible if I stay here. And eventually he came back.
This hadn't happened before. Remember when he was in Disneyland, right? And there was a big storm in New Jersey and he wasn't present there. He got a lot of heat for that. And that focused into his calculus. He even said as much when dealing with Sandy and some of the other storms that have happened in the state. This has happened before. Listen, whatever you think, I think that he is a talented politician. Sure, he's had major errors, Bridgegate and the rest, but there is an innate talent to, I think, what he has done.
He's talented?
I do. We can disagree on that one. Temper and all this notwithstanding, he's talented, and this is just
I hate to jump in. That's part of the whole, like, I've got great people on the ground who can handle this with me in New Hampshire, and I keep thinking, well, you had people who were running the Port Authority and running the bridge, and that didn't work out so well, so maybe your staff selection is questionable.
Let me try and be fair to Mr. Christie in what was a bonehead move. So I'm glad he saw the light of day and he's on his way home, or should be home, because you're the governor. And I know you want to be president in your delusional world, which is not going to happen. But okay. Now, in fairness to Christie, Richard, he's rolled the dice his entire presidential campaign. Just like Giuliani with Florida, which didn't work, Christie has had a resuscitation, a renewed life in New Hampshire. It's do or die. Either you come in second or third in New Hampshire or you're done, buddy. So that's what he's thinking about. But you're the governor of the great state of New Jersey. So, Governor, get home. It's as simple as that.
Do you imagine the optics, Shelley, and you're going to have not just people stuck in snow here, stuff shut down here, but the flooding, especially for me, and the governors in New Hampshire at a campaign event, right? Do you imagine what that would look like? And I don't care if you're an alderman or something. Somebody in your office is going to tell you, get out there, whatever, right? I mean, this seems like a one-on-one move.
First place, take a page from Andrew Cuomo. I mean, every disaster, he is physically on the ground. And whether you like him, you hate him, he's there with the boots on and the windbreaker. And not only be there, but to the point that you made, telling people what to do and getting it done. We just saw what happened with the lead issue. Nobody sort of took control and said something bad is happening, fix it. That's what governors are supposed to do. So if he's not there and one bad thing happens, which it will, he's going to be held responsible. But I don't know how the people of New Jersey feel, whether they really think he's in charge or not.
But to your point, operationally, you've got to be there. You can't just talk on the phone or text. Yeah. You need people around you. That's why you open emergency centers. The executive is there to hear all sides. Everybody, state police, regular police, local police, emergency service people. You've got to be right there to make the fast decisions. So forgetting the appearance issue, just operationally, you've got to do that.
I don't want to be remiss because there was other news, obviously, on the Republican side today, outside of Chris Christie. You saw what the New Republic had to say about Donald Trump here. We've seen not a single Republican that served with Ted Cruz in the Senate endorse him in any way, shape, or form. It is shaping up right now that it is hold your nose and pick somebody. We saw, in effect, Bob Dole made his choice, if you will, to say, I will not in any way, shape, or form vote for Ted Cruz. If you force me to, I'll go with Donald Trump. Is the reality starting to set in that I might have to pick one of these two?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think that whole National Review thing is quite news. Those are very respected individuals on the conservative side of Republican. And for them to come out, and it was articulate. I mean, they were very articulate about why they were against Trump. And Cruz isn't liked by anyone. I mean,
And
so
one of the leading arguments they made, and I know you saw it, Scott, was that they don't believe he's really a conservative. They don't believe he's got serious problems, and they believe that he will impact the whole party as a consequence in a general.
Well, and precisely because he loves polls and he's opportunistic. So there's no ideology that he follows, which scares conservatives because he could fly all over the place in terms of spending and how he handles government. They are actually very, very nervous. But Cruz doesn't come up right behind him because no one likes him either. So you're right. It's the nose-holding time. Here we go.
And you think about the voices that are in demand right now. Glenn Beck, Sarah Palin, I mean, the guy from Duck Dynasty. If you're Jeb Bush right now or some of the others, you must be spinning, right? And you don't know what to say. You can't even insult Sarah Palin because now you're going to insult the very Tea Party and whatever else is going out there. I mean, we are in la-la land.
Yeah, it's like the new planet in our solar system. We don't know where it is, but there's something going on out there.
All right, well, Republican Party's got its hands full dealing with Donald and Ted Cruz leading the pack, but Democrats got their own headache on their hands, make no mistake. Is the Bernie Sanders surge giving Democrats just as many headaches in a different way by maybe not just delaying the Hillary coronation, but pointing out just how much of a vulnerable candidate she may really be here? We're going to talk about that and more after this.